I used to think, if I just lived peacefully and didn't cause trouble, those HOA folks would leave me alone. Unfortunately, I forgot one thing. Karen can never sleep easy knowing someone else is happy. I kept 6 hens. Not a chicken farm. Not a rooster crowing at 4 a.m. Just 6 golden-feathered ladies laying fresh eggs every morning. But to the HOA, especially Madam President Karen, I was no different than a cross-border poultry smuggler. One fine morning, I received a letter from the HOA. Keeping poultry in a residential neighborhood is a violation. If not removed within 14 days, the resident will be prosecuted under Clause 7.3. Prosecuted over 6 chickens? So I poured myself a cup of coffee, picked up the letter, and smiled. Because if Karen wanted a chicken war, I was going to give her an entire legal farm. And trust me, when a farmer gets angry, even the HOA has to rewrite the rules. I live in suburban Georgia, in a peaceful little neighborhood, the kind of peace where you can hear chickens clucking at noon. And yes, that sound comes from my backyard. My family isn't the city folks on a juice cleanse type, nor are we running some organic certified farm. We just wanted a few fresh eggs every morning, and 6 hens were a dream come true. I named them Omelette, Nugget, Henrietta, Beyonce, Cluck Norris, and Susan. Susan's a bit temperamental, but she lays consistently. The coop is as clean as a lab. No smell, no noise, no public disturbance. The neighbors? They love the ladies. Kids come over to play. Adults ask for eggs. Everything was just fine until the HOA queen moved in. Her name is Diane, but after the first HOA meeting, everyone started calling her Karen Diane. Karen doesn't like chickens, doesn't like kids, doesn't like people being happy. She got elected HOA president in a vote so small, a stray cat nearly won. And then Karen's reign began with a chilling declaration. We need to restore order. I figured order meant someone's chickens gotta go. And of course, she picked me. But what Karen didn't know is, I'm not the kind of resident who quietly swallows her eggs in fear. I'm the kind who lays a plan. One Monday morning, sunny skies, happy hens, coffee in the air, I discovered a letter slipped under my front door. The envelope had the HOA logo printed on it, like an invitation to the Oscars. I opened it. Not a greeting. Not a request for eggs. It read, Official notice. You are in violation of Clause 7.3, unauthorized poultry keeping in a residential area. If not resolved within 14 days, legal action may be taken and financial penalties may apply. Financial penalties? For a few eggs? Good question, but it didn't stop there. 3 days later, I received a letter from the HOA's attorney. Now the real fun began. The letter threatened civil prosecution plus a $100 per day fine if I didn't remove the violating subjects, that is, my 6 lovely hens. So I dug out the HOA charter I had signed back in 2016. Not a single line said no chickens. No mention of chicken, poultry, or even feathered friend, which meant Karen was pulling tricks. And the HOA lawyer, her accomplice. I decided to call her polite, respectful, the model resident kind of tone. But the moment I said about the chickens, she cut me off. You are posing a public sanitation risk and damaging the image of this community. Chickens are not part of modern HOA culture. I calmly replied, and what exactly is modern HOA culture? Policing your neighbor's breakfast? Karen hung up. And that's when I knew this wasn't about a few chickens anymore. This was a battle for the right to live simply, without Karen ruining it. I poured myself a second cup of coffee, picked up my pen, and began writing the first counter-strike letter of my life. I'm not a lawyer, but I know one thing. If you're going to play the law card against me, you'd better be using a legal deck. Karen forgot that part. I opened a brand new folder on my computer titled The Holy Hen Crusade. Inside, I saved a PDF of the current HOA bylaws, the original 2016 version, and every so-called update, or more accurately, the complete lack thereof. I asked an old friend, former legal counsel for an insurance company, to take a look. He laughed like I had just told him a stand-up joke. No clause banning hens? Then the HOA has no grounds. They're playing with imaginary law. That sounded as sweet as fresh fried eggs. I wrote a 2-page response letter, attached a copy of the HOA charter, with the no poultry ban section highlighted in bold red ink. I firmly stated that if they continued with the threats, I was prepared to escalate the matter to the county board and even countersue for unlawful emotional intimidation. I sent the letter via certified mail, along with a handwritten note. Please enjoy a few eggs from our perfectly legal ladies. 3 days later, Karen called back. Her voice had changed softer, hesitant. She stammered, "We're reviewing the charter, but in the meantime, we ask for your cooperation." I smiled. I am cooperating. With the law. That was the last time Karen ever called me by phone. From then on, it was strictly emails, and every one of them CC'd to the entire board. That was my first strike. And Karen began to realize, the hens may not know the law, but I know every line of it. Karen thought this war would end with me crying, clutching my hens, walking away in tears. But no, it ended with the most crowded community meeting in our HOA's history. I officially requested a town hall meeting, a basic right under the HOA charter, which Karen probably assumed no one ever reads. I even invited my lawyer friend to attend. He said nothing, just stood there and smiled, like the smell of fried eggs drifting through a morning breeze. Over 40 households showed up. Normally, they wouldn't bother. But this time, it was the chicken war. I gave a short but thorough presentation, complete with photos of my coop cleaner than a hospital, and statements from neighbors. Honestly, his chickens are better behaved than my cat. A retired gentleman stood up. "Karen, I've raised chickens since 1965. Now I live here, and I don't see a problem unless you have a problem with egg yolks." Everyone laughed. Karen turned red like a plucked hen. But it didn't stop there. A young mother stood up and said firmly, "I bring my kids to see the chickens every afternoon. They've learned how to care for animals. If someone ruins that, I'll campaign to replace the entire board." I looked at Karen. She said nothing. Then, the HOA attorney stood up looking like he wanted to crawl under the table. "Upon reviewing the charter, we confirm there is currently no clause prohibiting the keeping of hens. Therefore, the HOA has no legal grounds to penalize the resident." Karen nearly collapsed. But the best part came next. A resident proposed an amendment to the charter, but instead of banning hens, the proposal was to explicitly allow backyard hens so long as the coop is clean and there are no roosters. A vote was held. Result: 38-inch favor, 2 against, 1 abstention. I didn't need to ask who abstained. But I'm guessing Karen is now drafting her early retirement letter. And she did. She resigned as HOA president shortly after. No one begged her to stay. No farewell speech. Just the distant clucking of hens, echoing like a victory anthem. A week later, Karen moved out. No farewell party. No cookies. No thank you notes. Just a crooked "for sale" sign stuck in the lawn on grass she didn't even bother to mow. As for me, still raising hens. Susan, the grumpiest of the ladies, laid a double-yolk egg that day. I considered it a medal of honor. The HOA now has a new board, sensible, kind, and fully aware that sometimes eggs are more valuable than phony bylaws. The neighbors are happy. The kids are laughing. And me? I've got a delicious breakfast and a lesson learned. Never underestimate an old guy with hens, a copy of the bylaws, and too much free time. Because sometimes the people who look as harmless as a hen are the very ones who will make an entire HOA rewrite the rules. So, if anyone ever tries to make you feel guilty for living simply growing veggies, raising chickens, or just enjoying peace, remember this. There's nothing more powerful than a kind person who's been pushed too far. And Karen? She learned that lesson the hard way, at the cost of her presidency and the eternal silence of the chicken coop behind my house. If you've ever had a run-in with an HOA or know a Karen, drop a cluck for justice in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because in a world full of red tape, we need more eggs and a whole lot more justice.